So you are Mingju?
Yes, I am Gwangju, and I was born and raised in here in Gwangju, which is ACC is placed at.
Right.
Yeah, I'm so excited to talk to you.
Okay, good. Me too, yeah. So you were also one of the applicants for the project. And also, I guess you're an artist yourself. So I'm curious about how this came about and before we kind of start.
To be honest, yes, I did apply for this competition too, and I didn't find my name on the list. And then I started to be curious and how different I am from the winners, so I can get any advices from them.
Okay.
And I wanted to ask how the other artists can work actually on their artwork. That's why I started to ask these questions for any applicants and the winner artist. Since you've been to ACC for several times and you've seen Medial Wall actually, so what should be displayed on the Medial Wall at ACC since you have some knowledge about Gwangju City?
There is a political dimension to it, let me put it this way. And I think, Gwangju is a location, is a place that has a lot of political significance. So I thought this is the perfect location for me to showcase and premiere this work. So basically, it's a dual screen, work. On the one screen, you will play a video game that tests, your understanding or your sense of left and right. And on the other side, as I said, is a poll that, you will be shown a series of keywords, and the viewer or the participant will be asked to key in whether you consider this word left or right. And the results will be updated, into a database. And then, it will be shown, in real time on the second screen. So these are the two components of the work that will be displayed on the Media Wall at ACC.
Speaking of your work, it reminds me of your previous work, like to call a horse a deer. And the other end, it reminds me of nowadays of Hong Kong situation and somehow the history of Gwangju City. So can you explain more in detail? You mentioned a little bit, but how come you kick in left, right?
Okay. Yeah, so definitely, I think this is the second installment of a series of work, especially a series of video game work that I'm developing right now. And this series of work is called, I have to actually check my own work again. I forgot my own, because they are actually a series, and I call them binary game. They are a series of works that are designed specifically for a 2-key keyboard. So the previous work, just left and right. This work also only used 2 keys. For me, the idea is very simple because I'm very interested in exploring through video games, perhaps kind of a binary, way of thinking, representing, as well as engaging with the world, which I find it to be problematic, I think, right now in Hong Kong and beyond, I think in the world. I think this binary is not only limited to the context of Hong Kong, but I guess you can easily find mirrors in America, perhaps also in Korea. So that is the origin of the series. Both works has a strong political dimension that I'm interested in a particular issue. For example, the last work has a lot to do with the idea of truth bending. So meaning not just lying. I think, lying is a little bit, of course, lying is one thing, but truth bending is an entirely different thing. So that previous work, I think, is a very interesting and, in my view, also very successful work that question this phenomenon or this process of truth bending. And this time, I think I want to continue this discussion and this experimentation, and I develop a game that will test our sense of left and right, both spatially as well as semantically, or or perhaps ideologically, right? Normally left and right is being used to kind of represent two different, perhaps political or ideological views, right? Progressive versus, conservative, capitalist, versus, communist or socialist. But I think, sometimes these two terms are also being kind of inverted and twisted and abused in many different, occasions. So sometimes the left become right and the right becomes left, and things become messy and confusing. And yet I think people, especially political leaders, continue to kind of manipulate, these terms. And a lot of the time, I guess ourselves also use this, left and right distinctions without a kind of a clear and critical, I guess, reflections. So I guess this work is kind of about that, to use a kind of playful experience to reflect on this confusion. At first, it seems very simple, right? I mean, in the game, you will be displayed, for example, the sign left and right, so you see the pointing finger. So that is the easy part, right? So basically you can just follow, oh, this is left and this is right. But as the game, kind of progress, left and right becomes a bit more problematic. For example, you will be presented with not just the pointing direction, but you will also be presented with the word itself, left and right. So then it poses another challenge, right? So now you're not processing just a spatial dimension, but a kind of a linguistic dimension. But then as the game progresses, even more, then you will be confronted with terms or keywords. For example, capitalism. So how would you, categorize capitalism? Is it left or right? So we have certain association with the word. Perhaps, I might go for right, okay? And that sort of thing, so, and more, you have to remember, the positions, you have to remember the sequence, of the words, and then things get messy. And I think this game is using this, process to kind of force us to perhaps re-examine, this binary between left and right, as well as the meaning of, I don't mean the meaning of left and right, but the meaning of using left and right as a way of articulation. I think that is more, my original intention.
Gathering information is kind of your essential material for your work, right?
For part of the work, yes. I think for part of the work, but I think the most important thing is I'm interested in facilitating an experience for the viewers or for the participants. For me, the experience is the most important thing. I guess it's not a kind of work that I want to tell you something. It's not the kind of work that I want to express my own views, but it's more a kind of work that I want to facilitate an experience for the user, the participant, so that they can kind of reflect on the process and perhaps come up with a certain idea themselves. So it's more like a facilitation for me, in this particular work.
I guess this is the most difficult questions to everyone.
Oh.
Can you introduce yourself?
Oh, I think that is simple. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, I guess my name is Yuk. I am an experimental filmmaker. I'm a media artist. I am an independent curator, and I am a professor, currently based in Hong Kong. So I think that is my very simple, basic self-introduction that I put it on my website. So I guess that's why it's easy. Yeah.
So let's do a final request for you. Can we be a friend? If you can, let's
Why not?
make a...
we don't need to be a friend. I mean, we don't need to do an interview in order to be a friend. Actually, it's kind
yes.
of... Yeah. Yeah, sure. Too bad that I don't think, I'll be able to go to Gwangju, in any time soon due to the circumstance. Right? But definitely I would love to visit, Gwangju, soon, and hopefully we can see each other face to face physically in one piece.
Yay!